Hello, friends. Brian Gailey, Klamath Falls News. Welcome to Ask Klamath. If this is your first time checking us out, Ask Klamath is an Ask Me Anything style talk show where we have invited guests like our guest today, Oregon Representative Werner Reschke. Thank you for being here, Werner.
Thank you. Great to be here.
In today's show, we're gonna talk with Werner. We're gonna talk about some of the issues, some questions that you have for this guy. But before we get there, Damien, roll that intro. Hello, friends. Brian Gailey here, Klamath Falls News. Welcome to Ask Klamath. We're talking today with Oregon Representative Werner Reschke, who is the current seat of the District 56. Yep. You are up for election this year.
Correct.
Your opponent was actually on the show 2 weeks ago, so if you didn't check that out, when we're done here, go back over and check out Taylor's interview 2 weeks ago. A lot of the questions that we're going to ask today are going to be similar to that, so you can get a similar idea of where the two are. So, but before we get there, I do want to kind of go over some of your background. You sent me a bio. I do want to read that for everybody so everybody kind of knows where we're at. Representative Reschke grew up in Beaverton, graduated from Oregon State with a cum laude honors, earning a bachelor's in business administration with an emphasis on international business, marketing, economics, and German.
Ja voll.
He has been in business for 30 years worth of business experience, owning his own company for the last 17, working in management and marketing for several Fortune 500 companies as well. In Salem, Representative Reschke serves on 4 committees within the Oregon House: Revenue Committee, the Joint Committee on Carbon Reduction, Higher Education, and the Workforce Committee, and you're the Vice Chair of Energy and Environment, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You also just celebrated an anniversary with your wife as well.
Back in September, yes.
27 years.
Correct.
I thought my 17 was a while. I hope I got that right now that I said that out loud. For Representative Reschke's full bio, we have that over on AskKlamath.com. You can check that out, and that's actually where you can check out any previous episodes as well over at AskKlamath.com. Well, is there anything that I missed?
No, I think that's a good general introduction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So we're going to be taking your comments live here in the comments of this show. If you've got questions for Representative Reschke, get those in. We're going to actually ask your questions near the end. We do have a couple of questions. We asked for some ahead of time. We do have a few of those that we're going to address as well. But I do want to mention that this season is sponsored by Fastbreak, and somebody that does get their question asked live on the show will actually get a chance to win a $25 gift card to use at Fastbreak. It's going to be loaded on a Payday Rewards card. But with that said, if there's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of great questions, maybe some not so great questions, but we're going to take a look at most of those and try to get as many as we can. If we don't get to yours, please don't take offense. There's going to be a lot out there. We can't get to them all. So with that, all that housekeeping out of the way, you ready for some questions? Let's start off.
Let's go.
All right, let's find out who Mr. Reschke is. So we talked about your bio.
Yep.
You are the House Representative for District 56,
Correct.
which is the southern parts of Klamath and Lake County.
That's right.
What is your favorite part of District 56?
That's a great question. I would have to say probably the people in House District 56. It's an area that has not only just families, but multi-generational families. And I think a great example of that are 2 events that happen every year. One just happened last Saturday, which was the Klamath Basin Potato Festival. That's just a great time where everybody gets together. There's a fun parade, food, football, booths. And the other one is the Lake County Roundup. And I love that event as well. So those 2 kind of embody what District 56 is.
Okay. If there's anything you would change about District 56, would you change it? And what would it be?
Yeah, I would probably go with we need more economic opportunity here. I think we have a great college or university up there with Oregon Tech. We have a great community college. We're churning out students that are ready to go, hungry and eager. We just don't have the jobs for them to stay here. Also, you have folks that go into trade work if they don't go into higher education, and they get a skill and then they move on. And so I'm convinced that more people would stay here if the jobs were here, but they move out because the opportunity is elsewhere. So if I could change one thing, that'd be it, more economic opportunity for those entering the workforce.
Okay. And outside of politics, what do you do for leisure?
Well, I'm a political junkie, so I do what in my off time, what I do in my real job, but I will look at national stuff probably more in my off time. I read polls and stuff like that, but when I'm not doing those sorts of things, I'll spend time reading or playing piano.
Piano?
Yeah.
I would have never guessed.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to be talking with Representative Reschke for a little while, asking those more questions that you have you want answers to. Go ahead and get those into the comments below. Like I said, we are presented by Fastbreak, and somebody is actually going to win a $25 gift card today before we're all said and done, based on asking a question. So with that said, we're actually going to take a quick short break, and we'll be right back with more questions from Representative Reschke.
Fuel, refreshment, convenience, community, rewards. Fastbreak convenience stores with 7 Basin locations at Madison Chevron, Homedale Fastbreak, Merrill Mobile, 97 Chevron, McDowell Fuel Good, Washburn Chevron, and Blythe Fuel Good. Fastbreak, convenience, community, service.
Slow down.
Slow down and move over.
And move over. When you see lights,
vests,
Or reflectors.
please give us some room. Slow down and move over.
when you need us.
We've got your back.
Do you have ours?
You got our back?
You got ours?
You got our back?
Please, slow down.
And move over.
You can have your car taken to the shop of your choice. So my friend had her car taken to Excel Auto Body because she heard about their reputation for excellent work. They even gave her a written warranty that's good for as long as she owns that car. So Excel Auto Body is a very smart choice.
Hi, I'm Rorik, owner of Excel Auto Body. No matter if the damage is minor or major, you'll want to choose us now. So if you are ever in an accident, you'll be ready. And remember, it's your choice what body shop you go to. Choose Excel Auto Body. It's your car, our reputation.
Hello, friends. Brian Gailey, Klamath Falls News. Welcome back to Ask Klamath. We're joined today by Representative Reschke. Thank you for being here, Representative. This segment is actually brought to you by CrossFit APE, located at 105 North Spring Street. CrossFit APE offers core strength and conditioning program built on consistently varied functional movements executed at a high intensity. Learn more at crossfitape.blogspot.com. CrossFit APE, evolve your lifestyle. So, Mr. Reschke, you ready for some more questions?
Sure.
All right. So let's actually kind of get into some meat questions. But before we do, your bio, we just talked about it a couple minutes ago, said you've had 30 years of business experience.
Yes. 17,
you were the owner of Wrinkle Dog.
Yep.
What are you doing now for your primary occupation?
Well, that's this is my primary occupation right now. I tried to balance Wrinkle Dog and this new job, but this new job is really 3 jobs in one, and there are 3 full-time jobs. The first job is being a state representative and representing roughly 65,000 people in the Oregon Legislature. The second job is being a legislator, so you're writing legislation, you're reading legislation, you're thinking of legislation for the next session. And so that's on and off, but it's a full-time job as well. And then you're on the campaign trail. So that's more on and off, but those 3 things take full-time plus to do well.
Okay. So you could put more effort into focusing on those things is why you went in the direction you
That's
did, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So how has your role in your 30 years of experience of business prepared you for what you do in District 56?
Well, to back up, I got my undergrad degree at Oregon State in business administration. And so I started there, and then I went to work for Georgia Pacific out of college up in Portland. as a plywood trader, and this is before, believe it or not, before the days of computers, right? So we were on the phone, and I don't even know if we had fax machines yet. It was just all phone calls, and I had 12 mills, 12 branches on the East Coast, so I had to get into work early, 6, 7 o'clock, to take their orders and then call the Western mills to fulfill their orders, and that's what I did all day for about 9 months. From there, I went to Tektronix and worked there for about 10 years and was in customer service management and also did a lot of stuff with their web team. And then for about a year, Xerox purchased Tektronix, and so I helped with the transition before I went on to Wrinkle Dog. So I got a broad view of different type of industry, different types of businesses, different areas within a business, and then with running my own company, as you very well know, you're the jack of all trades.
You are.
Master of none. Well, hopefully you master a few things.
We got to master a couple, right?
You got to master a couple, but you definitely are a jack of all trades. And so from accounting to inventory to managing customers to, you just name it, you're the guy. And so was able to learn all those things. So saying all that really prepared me for the legislature, because I know how the real world works. I know how, when you're in business, you don't get to play with funny money or other people's money. You got to play with your own money. So I learned how to live within your means, and that's something that Salem's not very good at right now.
Okay, they do need some work on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so the Klamath Basin, we're actually going to get to a real serious question here. Like I said, all these questions we pretty much have asked your opponent as well.
Correct.
So if you are interested in what Taylor Tupper had to say on these, go back 2 weeks, watch the episode where he had the interview with her. And one of the questions we asked her, and I'm going to ask you the same one. The Klamath Basin, most of the area of District 56 has had a long history of issues between the tribes and the farmers, right? There's a gap there. We can pretty much all agree to that. Do you believe you can close the gap between those parties? And if so, what's your plan to do so?
Yeah, good question. And first of all, I'd just like to back up and say that I appreciate the format that we're using here today, that it's two candidates, but it's the same set of questions, and it's not at each other. It's just ask a question and get the information out. And we talked about that previously, but I really appreciate this format for understanding what a candidate believes. But to the question of the farmers and tribes and so forth, I think the problem really isn't a resource problem. I think it's a people problem. I think it's a trust problem. And unfortunately, during the last 50, 100 plus years, there's been ample opportunity that's been missed to build trust, and instead we've created mistrust. And until you can fix that problem, it doesn't matter what you talk about. Somebody's going to say black, the other person's going to say white, somebody's going to say high, somebody's going to say low, just because there's no trust. And so my job is to be part of the solution. I'm not arrogant enough to say I've got the answer, but to be trustworthy. And with trust, I've found that you can't necessarily earn it. You can work towards earning it, but eventually somebody has to give you their trust. And so all you can do is control your behavior and earn trust to a point that they're willing to give it, and vice versa. So I think there's been attempts to do that. I think we just need to keep working at it together and not name calling, not calling each other out, but try to get in a room and just start working on what are the issues, what is it that you want, what is it that you want, what is it that you want, and is there common ground that we can find? But I, as far as a legislator, I'm trying to find ways to help folks in my district, in District 56, without trampling on the rights of others.
Okay. Now, I do know that there's probably a lot of people out there that would like to be involved in that conversation. It's just getting everybody together at the same time to have that conversation, I know, is an issue. So with that, we actually have a question from Kimberly Elliott.
Okay.
Kimberly actually asked a similar question to Taylor. Thank you, Kimberly. What is the legislator doing to alleviate the housing shortage across the state?
Well, there's a couple things that I think we should do as a state and then as the local community. And The first thing is to prevent any kind of legislation that involves rent control or pricing control of the market. I think that's the wrong approach. I think when you do that, you distort the marketplace and you cause more problems than you solve. So I'm definitely against rent control. But second is our state land use laws need to really be revisited. I don't think I think they were created in a time when Oregon wasn't growing like it is. And if you look up north to Bend, and even if you look here and you look in Portland, we are growing as a state, and we need land use laws that allow us to expand areas for housing. An example of this is Eugene in 1972 when the urban growth boundary was put in place. Eugene built an urban growth boundary, a circle around their city, and the last time that Eugene has changed that urban growth boundary was 1972, right? So some of it falls on the local municipality, but I think the rules that they have to follow are somewhat cumbersome and hard to predict what your growth is going to be, and they're not able to go back and adjust. So I think we need to change those laws to make it easier for municipalities to grow at the size that they need to grow or want to grow. A second thing is I think the permitting process, or the third thing is the permitting process, and I think we need to stop making it a profit center, right? So it shouldn't cost you $40,000 to build a house. It should cost you it should cost you far less than that. My father was a home builder back in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, and he used to just moan and complain about how the fees to build a house kept going up and up and up and up, and the service kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And that's not to say that's the way it is in Klamath, but it's just a symptom of kind of an illustration of what can go on. So I want to see us move back to where those budgets aren't, those departments, those building departments aren't funded by fees, but they're funded by the general budget. And then finally, we have a labor shortage. So, it's hard to find construction workers, it's hard to find plumbers and electricians and so forth to build buildings. And that's why I'm going to be advocating for KCC, Klamath Community College, just got a new bond or a new grant of $8 million to build a building so they can help with the trades. And I'm going to be advocating that we donate that money, that we don't put forth a bond measure, but that we come together as a community and find the $4 million to match the grant so we can do it. I think that's a far better way than the bonding process. I'm also in process of introducing some legislation which will change the match depending on where you're located in Oregon. So if you're in an urban area where bond measures pass real quick and there's lots of wealth, it's 50-50. If you're in a mid area, then it's 40-60. And if you're in an area like Klamath, it would be a 2-to-1 match from the state to the local community. And I think then we can get, participation and raise that money so we can build that building so we can create the jobs that are needed to create affordable housing.
Okay. So that would help in having more affordable housing,
Yep.
kind of working your way back to, so
Yeah.
how do we get there? It's
Yep.
the jobs through the education, and
That's
sometimes
right.
it takes some legislation to get there.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. We have a question from Todd Tieford. Todd's question wasn't asked to Taylor, just so you guys know. That came in new for you.
Right.
During the next session, with only a minority in both houses, and I think he means the House and the Senate, the Oregon
Correct.
House and Senate, what can be done to reverse the tax and spend policies of our current governor?
Great question. Kind of a political wonky question, something I love, but I think I'll be able to answer that a lot better after November 6th. So after the election's over, we'll know who we have for governor, we'll know how many we have in the House, how many we have in the Senate, as far as Republicans and Democrats. But assuming everything were to stay the same, let's say we have Governor Brown and it's 25-35 in the House, 25 Republicans to 35 Democrats, and the House has 13 Republicans to 17 Democrats. Assuming that's all the same, what we do have right now as Republicans is we have the power to stop taxation. They're one vote short in the House, one vote short in the Senate to be able to pass taxation. Oregon Constitution requires a 60%, it's a 60%, 3/5 majority to get a tax law passed. And so they're one vote short, so we can stop that. We can't stop policy, but we can stop tax law. So Democrats have been finding clever ways around that requirement. One way is to raise fees, which only requires a majority, they say, and also to take away tax credits, which also raises revenue, but they say that's okay. And really to roll into ballot measure 104, that's what ballot measure 104 is all about. It's about saying, no, you can't do that without the 3/5 majority that's required by the Constitution. So if everything stays the same, we can stop taxes of Governor Brown long as a Republican doesn't join the Democrats. But I think things are going to change. I think they're going to be for the better, and that will be a way to stop additional taxes.
Okay. Well, thank you for answering those, Representative Reschke. Don't forget, get your questions in, and we're going to be asking your questions near the end of the show, your ones that you're asking live on Ask Klamath, presented by Fastbreak. And somebody is going to get $25 on a Payday Rewards card. Guys, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Fuel, refreshment, convenience, community, rewards. Fastbreak convenience stores with 7 basin locations at Madison Chevron, Homedale Fastbreak, Merrill Mobile, 97 Chevron, McDowell Fuel Good, Washburn Chevron, and Blythe Fuel Good. Fastbreak, convenience, community, service.
Slow down
Slow down and move over.
and move over. When you see lights,
Vests.
Or reflectors.
Please, give us some room. Slow down and move over.
when you need us.
We've got your back.
Do you have ours?
You got our back?
You got ours?
You got our back? Please, slow down.
And move over.
You can have your car taken to the shop of your choice. So my friend had her car taken to Excel Auto Body because she heard about their reputation for excellent work. They even gave her a written warranty that's good for as long as she owns that car. So Excel Auto Body is a very smart choice.
Hi, I'm Rorik, owner of Excel Auto Body. No matter if the damage is minor or major, you'll want to choose us now. So if you are ever in an accident, you'll be ready. And remember, it's your choice what body shop you go to. Choose Excel Auto Body. It's your car, our reputation.
Hello, friends. Brian Gilly here, Klamath Falls News. Welcome back to Ask Klamath, presented by Fastbreak. Our guest today, Representative Reschke, District 56 of the Oregon House. This segment's actually brought to you by the Klamath County Fairgrounds. Happening this weekend, they've actually got quite a bit. The fall auction, the Spooktacular Open Horse Show, sponsored by the Klamath County 4-H, and the Basin Bombers are back too. The auction is Saturday, starts at 10 o'clock with a preview of Friday afternoon. The auction will stop promptly at 10 a.m. Saturday. Some items including tractors, balers, welders, implements, vehicles, government surplus, hey, estate items, and more are added daily. Visit DupreeAuctioneers.com for a current list and learn about what the fairgrounds can do for you and what they've got going on all the time at kcfairgrounds.org. Special thanks to the fairgrounds for being a sponsor here today. Representative Reschke, you ready for some more questions?
Please.
All right.
You
So
bet.
we have a lot of hot button topics, if you would, here in the basin. And basically, I'd just like to get your take on some of these. Your stance on the following issues that include the Jordan Cove pipeline, water, fish, and the ESA. They're kind of all tied together. Marijuana, economic development, climate change, taxes, and gun control. I was getting all kind of tongue-tied right there. We actually asked these same questions to your opponent, Taylor, last 2 weeks ago. If you want to know her answers, check that out. We're going to have, on the rebroadcast, we'll have a link in the bottom where you can check that out as well. So, Representative Reschke, where are you on some of these things, starting with, say, Jordan Cove?
Jordan Cove pipeline, I'm a yes on it. I've been in favor of it from the beginning. And it's a once-in-a-lifetime economic development opportunity. If you could tell a community that they would reap somewhere between $6 million and $12 million in new county taxes by something going under the ground that they'll probably never see in their lifetime again, I think every county in America would be saying, sign us up. So I think it's really a no-brainer in that sense. It's going to create jobs, a lot of construction jobs, and I know that they're going to be, some of those will be temporary jobs, but as a restaurant owner or as a hotel or as a gift shop owner or whatever your business is in Klamath, the fact that there's going to be more people in town and more people around the area Would you rather have a bump in revenue or just the same revenue? So in business, revenue comes and goes. It doesn't come steady and just keep going up. It comes in cycles. So this is an opportunity to collect more money as a business and maybe save it away for a rainy day. And so that's a big benefit. Or invest in something to expand your business. So as far as the pipeline, yeah, I'm a big yes. I think it's going to solve a lot of problems, especially at the county level and the city level as far as funding.
Okay. Some are concerned about the cost benefit of the pipeline, meaning the cost to, say, the environment, or if there's a catastrophic failure or something like that. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a little bit of fear mongering. I think you have to realize that we just finished the Ruby pipeline that came from Wyoming or Utah into Malin. It was finished, I think, in 2013. None of these arguments were being brought up then. And it connected to a pipeline that's been in the ground for 50, 60 years, has been going north-south for a long time. And again, those arguments aren't brought up again. So I think we're better at building pipelines than we were 50 and 60 years ago. I think we're more careful for the environment than we were 50 and 60 years ago. And so I think it's conjuring up fear. What if? You need to think through those things, but I think it shouldn't stop development.
Okay. What about water, fish, and ESA?
Well, why don't you give me an easier question? No, a harder question, I guess.
I don't know if they come more loaded.
That's a loaded question. And I'll just start by saying it's complicated in the sense that in House District 56, this district does not encompass the lake, and it does not encompass the upper Klamath Basin. And so those are the upper Klamath Basin, as far as like the Sprague River, the Wood River and stuff, they are in House District 55, which is Representative Mike McLean's territory. The lake is a federal state kind of mixture, and then House District 56 has the project, which is kind of federal. It's a federally run, but it's got state water laws, so it gets really complicated. And so my role is House District 56, so I'm focused primarily on the project. And so I'm advocating for project farmers, advocating for water for them. But at the same time, I'm mindful that this is an interconnected system, and it doesn't just stop at the Oregon border, it goes into California as well. And so while I'm working for farmers and ranchers to make sure that they have adequate water to run their businesses, I'm also trying to be mindful of all the other issues on the table as far as fish, endangered species, and so forth. I think gone fishing is a great example of what folks in District 56, not that I thought of this, but they're in District 56, are doing with the sucker fishes to try to help the population stabilize so they can figure out what the cause is of the declining population. So I think that's a great example of spanning beyond boundaries and trying to find a real world solution. So I'm, again, that's kind of where I sit on those issues.
Okay. Representative Reschke talks about Gone Fishing. Gone Fishing is actually a program in the off Lower Klamath Lake Road where they're rearing sucker fish. They're collecting them after spawn, and then they're able to raise them. A lot of the issues that are happening right now with the sucker is that they're not making a mature level to be able to reproduce on their own. So they're helping them get past that point at which there's a fish die-off until they can figure out that point. We've got more information on that on cloudfallsnews.org. Just search Gone Fishing. You can find more on that.
That would be a good guest for a future program, actually.
It is, actually. They're on my short list.
All right, very good.
I'd love to talk to them more about what they're doing.
No, it's great. It's a great thing.
So one of the hot topics in the city, which the city is part of District 56, is the split on the recreational marijuana. Where are you at on that one?
I'm a no on recreational marijuana, a yes on medical marijuana. So I think that when Oregon voters voted in 2014 to legalize marijuana, they didn't have enough data. I'd like to see us revisit it at some time, but until then, I really don't want Klamath to follow Medford or Salem or Bend in this regard. And my reasons are threefold. First of all, health. First of all, if you legalize it, you legitimize it. If you make it available, it will be used more. And studies on like the brain show that until age 25, a male brain is not fully developed. And marijuana has a significant impact on the IQ of a young male who smokes. Before just 50 marijuana joints before the age of 25 can drop their IQ by 10 points. So it's a significant health factor. Plus, the marijuana grown today is not your father's marijuana. It's not the marijuana from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's completely more potent. So it's 7 to 10 times more potent with the THC, the hallucinogenic part of the plant. And I just think that this is a bad thing, especially when we're struggling getting our students to graduate high school, to making this more available, more readily, more acceptable in society. I know you can't sell to minors, but if you make it available to adults, it's going to get to minors a lot easier. So health is one thing. The second one is safety. There's been some studies done and some data on DUIs. So while state DUIs have decreased by 30% since 2011, in Salem, where they have done what is on the ballot, made it the retail shops and distribution, DUIs have gone up over 50%. In Bend, it's over 10%. And so I think a policy that says we want to make our streets more dangerous is a bad way to go. And then finally, just children. I think, I think it's just a bad message to send to children. So, for those reasons, health and safety, and I'll say for the kids, I think it's a bad message. I think recreational marijuana is a bad thing for Oregon. I think the data will show it and prove it out, but I think we're going to have to go through a hard learning curve.
Okay. So we're going to be asking, like I said earlier, we're going to be asking your questions. We're watching here on their stream to see those questions come in. Now's a great time to do that. We actually have a couple more bullet points here to go over.
Okay.
While we wait for some questions to come in. Economic development. You kind of touched on it earlier about the affordable housing.
Yep.
Right? But where are you about economic development here in the basin? In growth and things like that.
That's great. Well, growth I'm for. I don't like the term economic development. I know it's the buzzword, it's the catchword. I prefer the term economic opportunity. So economic development always has an arm of government that's in the mix, twisting and turning the market. I prefer economic opportunity where government actually backs out or provides maybe a tax incentive for business to grow organically and naturally. I think the private sector can do a much better job at filling needs in a community than central planners in a room who happen to be elected or not. So, I mentioned the Jordan Cove pipeline as an economic development opportunity just because that's the buzzword, but really government's not directing that. This is private enterprise saying we need to get our natural gas from here to here, and we're going to go through your area. How do we do that? So they work with government, but government's not the driver on that. We don't have a government committee saying these are the places. So I'm all for growth. I'm all for economic opportunity. Economic development, I'm less keen on it if defined as central planning.
Okay. Climate change.
Yes, climate is changing. Climate's been changing before I was here, and it will change after I was here. The question in my mind, and just so you know, I think you mentioned it earlier, I'm on the Joint Committee for Carbon Reduction. Mm-hmm. So I'm up to my eyeballs in data on this. The question is whether it's man-made or woman-made climate change, or if it's just naturally occurring because it's naturally occurring. I'm going to spare you and your audience my long diatribe on what that is, but just say that Oregon only produces 0.14% of all the carbon in the world. So it's not 1%, it's not 0.5%, it's 0.14%. And when the top climatologist was asked that in committee in June, we said if we went to climate zero tomorrow, Oregon was carbon neutral tomorrow. So as much carbon as we produced, we were able to sequester, or we just didn't produce any carbon at all. What would that do on the climate? And he said the change would be imperceptible. So all this effort to reduce carbon, I think, is a kind of a mixed up priority for Oregon. I think the last bill they brought in 2018, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle would have cost Oregonians $700 million a year to just move the needle on carbon production just a little bit. And that's just where they're going to start. So the ideas of cap and trade or carbon taxes, I'm not a big fan of those, again, because if we're not affecting the climate, which is the end goal, then we're just doing a lot of busy work, and it's costing Oregonians money.
So that measurement that you mentioned, the 0.14%, is that just like in commercial, like plants and things like
That's
that?
transportation, it's everything.
Does that account for, say, the wildfires that we had to deal with this summer?
I don't think it counts the wildfires, correct. So if you were to add the wildfires, we might be more. And just for the record, I'm against wildfires.
I think we all are against wildfires, uncontrollable wildfires. Is that being talked about inside your committee at all?
Not very much.
Okay.
Again, my silo doesn't control the committee, so we try to make that point, but it seems to fall on deaf ears right now.
Okay. I think here soon that'll probably be changing.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that kind of got affected by the smoke and
Yeah.
everything this year.
Yeah.
Heck, we still got one burning over outside of Grants Pass that's been burning since the middle of June.
Wow.
So it's used to be not in my backyard type mentality.
Right.
Now it's in everybody's backyard.
The thing with fires that was rather interesting is we didn't really, except for a few smaller ones, we didn't have the big fires here, but we seemed to be the depository for all the smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't matter whether it was in Grants Pass or California. It just seemed the winds brought it to Klamath and then it dispersed out.
Yeah. So moving on, taxes. Thought on taxes, more or less? Would you add more? Would you see better spending on what we already have?
If I were king for one day, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Well, I think our fiscal problems in Salem don't stem from the revenue side of the ledger, but from the spending side. And part of my thinking on that is Salem continues to bring in record revenue at each biennium. So since 2011, it was record revenue, 2013 record, 2015 record, 2017 record, 2019, again, record revenue, and yet we always seem to be $1.5 billion short in our budget. So that means something's going on the other side of the ledger, the spending side of the ledger, and if you look at that, it is just skyrocketing north. So I don't think you can tax your way into prosperity. I don't think we can tax our way to solve this problem. I think those are Band-Aid issues. I think we really need to get a hold on spending, and the big elephant in the room on that one is PERS, the Public Employee Retirement System. And so I've been an advocate since I started running for this job that we have to tackle that problem. Do I have the answer? Probably not, but we need to get in a room and start talking about it. We're not even doing that. So as PERS continues to grow and gobble up budgets like education, like public safety, like healthcare, these services are getting squeezed. Not because they're not doing a good job with their money, it's because PERS continues to eat more and more and more of their budget.
Okay, good to know. Is there any others that are like that with PERS, that are large chunks of spending?
I think right behind it, but not as serious, but it's still behind it, and we'll be dealing with it again in 2019, is healthcare. So we have the CCO model, and that seems to be working, but costs continue to start spiraling out of control. And so from a Medicaid standpoint, we're going to have to look at that. How do we address that? And not only that, how do we compensate state employees? Do they get the Cadillac plan or they get the average Joe plan? And I think we need to really look at having employees contribute more to their plans. But those are discussions to be had by folks in healthcare. I'm not in the healthcare committee. I just throw my ideas in there and watch what comes out. And if it's good, I'll vote for it. And if it's harmful for Oregonians, then I'll stand against it.
Okay, good to know. The last bullet point and kind of hot button topic is gun control.
Right. Well, I think, gun control comes up and it usually ebbs and flows. And so if there's a mass shooting, then it ebbs quite a bit and it's a talking point and the guns are always blamed. But I don't, just like the water issue, I don't think it's a resource problem. Guns, I don't think it's a gun problem. I think it's a people problem. And It's people who are unstable and evil with guns. When you pass gun control, really what you're saying is we're going to punish the law-abiding citizens with guns, and we're hoping that the bad guys will also follow along in these new laws. I think we have enough laws in the books right now. What we need to do is just enforce them, and there's some programs coming up, possibly in the 2020 ballot, that will deal with gun safety, which is, I think, woefully inadequate right now as far as education, and I think that should be in our schools.
Okay. Interesting thought.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a few out there that wouldn't agree with that.
No, they could opt out.
But it's an interesting
Yeah,
thought.
sure.
You know, kind of separation of church. I think to me, the first thing is like, well, church and state, guns and state. I don't know. But an interesting thing. I'd like to see where that's going to go.
Sure.
So, guys, that's a quick rundown of some of the biggest topics right now with Representative Reschke. We're going to take a break in a moment, but I want to remind you once again that this show is brought to you by Fastbreak. It's presented by Fastbreak, and somebody that asked a question today is actually going to get a $25 payday rewards card that you can spend at any other stores. Representative Reschke, you ready for a break?
Break sounds great.
Let's take a break. Guys, we'll be right back.
Fuel, refreshment, convenience, community, rewards. Fastbreak convenience stores with 7 basin locations at Madison Chevron, Homedale Fastbreak, Merrill Mobile, 97 Chevron, McDowell Fuel Good, Washburn Chevron, and Blythe Fuel Good. Fastbreak, convenience, community, service.
Slow down.
Slow down and move over.
And move over.
When you see lights,
Vests.
Or reflectors.
Please, give us some room. Slow down and move over.
when you need us.
We've got your back.
Do you have ours?
You got our back?
You got ours?
You got our back? Please, slow down.
And move over.
You can have your car taken to the shop of your choice. So my friend had her car taken to Excel Auto Body because she heard about their reputation for excellent work. They even gave her a written warranty that's good for as long as she owns that car. So Excel Auto Body is a very smart choice.
Hi, I'm Rorik, owner of Excel Auto Body. No matter if the damage is minor or major, you'll want to choose us now. So if you are ever in an accident, you'll be ready. And remember, it's your choice what body shop you go to. Choose Excel Auto Body. It's your car, our reputation.
Hello, friends. Brian Gailey, Klamath Falls News. Welcome back to Ask Klamath. This is our Ask Me Anything style talk show. Today's guest is Representative Werner Reschke. Thank you for being here, Werner.
Thank you.
This section is actually brought to you by Shasta Family Dental. Dr. Mindy Brown has created a team of individuals that hold high value in family, community, honesty, integrity, and compassion. Sounds like she's running for office. They provide quality, compassionate dental care and trust through respect with their patients. They care for you and the community. Shasta Family Dental is located across from the police department on Shasta Way. Learn more at shastafamilydental.com or call 541-884-5474. And I have to say, Dr. Brown's does great work. She's worked with my children as well. My son got injured in a football game, football practice or PE or something. I don't exactly remember. Knocked out his tooth. She was able to take care of it.
Not history.
No.
It wasn't history or math or something.
No, it was a physical thing.
Okay.
So, guys, don't forget, we're going to be asking your live questions for Representative Reschke on the show. And one of you is going to get a payday rewards card. So get your questions in. Before we get to those, though, Werner, what's on your mind today?
Well, first of all, again, I want to say thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Thanks for being
This
here.
is a neat format. It's unique, I think, not only just to Klamath County, but I think to much of Oregon. So, and again, I appreciate the format as far as having candidates on, but not at the same time, not making it a debate or contentious, but just trying to draw out what does a candidate believe, what do they think, and then let the voters decide.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess my point I want to go away with is that I have broad support in this district. I'm endorsed by numerous organizations, statewide organizations, from Oregon Right to Life to the NRA to Oregon Chiefs of Police to the Oregon Sheriff's Association, the Home Builders Association of Oregon, Oregon Farm Bureau, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, and the Oregon Taxpayers Association. So from business to farming to guns to life, liberty, all that good stuff. I have the endorsements of those organizations saying this is our person that we want to see in Salem. But it also shows itself up on the ballot in that I'm not just running as a Republican, I'm running for the Republican Party, the Libertarian Party, and the Independent Party. So in the primary I ran as a Republican, and when I won, I got notes from the Independent Party and Libertarian Party wanting me to be their candidate as well. And I was glad to accept those, and so I'm running on all three of those party platforms. So that, again, shows just kind of a different way to slice it, but that I have broad support from those in District 56.
Very good. You mentioned a little bit earlier about when we were talking housing and KCC and the bond and stuff like that. That's one of the things you want to take to Salem. Is there anything that you're wanting to take to Salem, if reelected, that you want to do this coming session?
I think my takeaway item is if I could do a mic drop, right? If I could do one thing and then be done, it would be to get commercial air service here to Klamath Falls again. And not just commercial air service, good, consistent, long-term commercial air service, something like Horizon Air. That's going to take a lot of work. I know there's folks at the airport and the city, Klamath Economic Development Association, the Chamber, all working on that. I've been looking for ways to find money in Salem to bring back for rural airports, because not only do we have that problem, but Coos Bay has that problem, and Pendleton has that problem to some extent. So it's kind of rural Oregon is suffering while Portland and Eugene and these other large municipalities, even Medford over the hill, are growing leaps and bounds economically. We're kind of stuck at this plateau because we don't have commercial air service. One such fund right now, I know in transportation, we spend, the state of Oregon spends $18 million of taxpayer dollars for rail service, passenger rail service. And I think to subsidize it, I think that's an okay idea if we lived in 1918. But we live in 2018, and so I think that a better spend of that money, if we're going to subsidize traffic, would be to do that for air service for rural airports. There's also some other ideas, but I'm just looking for the places that we're currently spending money and maybe not spending it in the wisest way that will help the residents of District 56.
Okay. So taking a look here at some of the comments and questions that we've had come through, I'm actually seeing a few comments. I have not seen any live questions just yet. So guys, this is your last chance. Get your questions in. Earlier I mentioned how long I was married. My wife has publicly corrected me. It is 18. You just lose count after so long. But ladies, I know that's not an excuse. Judy Williamson says hello. And Suzette Cup Hester says, it's not the way of Klamath, although I'm not quite sure what your comment is in reference to. So if you like a little more clarification, go ahead and type that up. I'd like to know. But not seeing any new comments. We actually had two good comments that came through a little while ago. I actually thrown the names to the side. We'll have to dig those out. Oh, there we go. You've got
Kimberly
your notes.
and Todd.
So we have Kimberly, who asked about the housing, and Todd, who asked about the tax and spend policies. Representative, you actually have an opportunity. Is there
To
one of
weigh
those?
in, I have to vote.
You have to vote. Is there one of those that jumped out to you?
Well, I know Kimberly won it when my opponent was on the show, correct? Because she was the only question, I think.
I believe so, yeah.
So I'm gonna.
Some days we do better than others on the
That's right.
questions.
So I'll go with Todd this time to balance it out.
Todd's getting it this time. All right, Todd, watch for your mail in your Facebook inbox. I'll be sending you a message on how to get your $25 payday rewards card. So, with that, anything else?
No.
I'm just throwing
Good.
papers off to the side now. They're just hitting the floor. So thank you, Representative Reschke, for being here.
You bet.
I appreciate it. Today's guest on Ask Klamath, presented by Fastbreak. Congrats to our winner, Todd. Todd, again, I'm going to be in contact with you on how to get that over to you. Ask Klamath is a production of Klamath Falls News. It's hosted by myself, Brian Gailey, the publisher of Klamath Falls News. It's also produced off camera. Over there is Damian Johnson, intern. Hey, Damian, there he is. He monitors the audio, switches the camera, makes us all look good. So I appreciate that. If you did not catch the entire live broadcast, Facebooks will do their magic, and you'll be able to watch the whole thing in replay mode anytime. And you can also catch up on any of Season 1 or Season 2. This is our second season, halfway through our second season on Ask Klamath. You can check that out, askklamath.com. If you've been entertained, you learned something, give it a like, share it. Let all your friends and family know. Next week, we do this every Wednesday at 4 o'clock live. You can, like I said, check the replays. But next week, sitting in the chair, will be Commissioner Derek DeGroot. On behalf of Representative Reschke, I'm Brian Gailey. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you around the basin.
Go vote.